Rain hammered Chicago's steel veins while Lena Vale sprinted through that subway car like her lungs were about to explode. 10 years she'd spent married to a monster, 10 years of flinching at footsteps. And tonight, right now, Travis Mercer was coming to finish what he started, not with fists this time, with murder in his eyes. She saw him shoving through the crowded train, grinning like a predator who'd finally cornered his prey. No one helped, no one even looked, until a man in a black suit stood up. Calm, silent, dangerous. When Travis grabbed her, this stranger, Kyle Jin, dismantled him in 3 seconds flat. No punches, just brutal efficiency. Then Travis got dragged off the train by men in dark suits, and Lena realized her escape had only just begun. This is the story of a woman who ran from one nightmare straight into the arms of something far more dangerous, and the silent protector who became her salvation. Stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. Cheat. The train lurched forward and Lena's knees nearly buckled. She grabbed the overhead rail with fingers that wouldn't stop shaking, her duffel bag pressed against her ribs like armor that didn't work. Sweat soaked through her navy scrubs despite the November cold bleeding through every crack in the carriage. Her reflection stared back from the dark window. Hollow eyes, a bruise yellowing along her left jaw, hair pulled back so tight it hurt. She looked like prey. Because she was. Travis would find her. He always did. 10 years of marriage had taught her that running only delayed the inevitable. But tonight, something shifted. Tonight, when he'd slammed her against the kitchen counter and wrapped both hands around her throat, she saw it. Not rage, not even hatred, just cold certainty. He was going to kill her. Maybe not tonight. Maybe not tomorrow. But soon. And he'd enjoy it. So she ran, grabbed the duffel she'd packed 3 months ago and hidden behind the water heater, climbed out the bathroom window while he was in the basement, ran 6 blocks in borrowed sneakers 2 sizes too big, made it to the subway just as the doors were closing. Now she stood in a packed train surrounded by strangers scrolling phones, listening to music, existing in whatever normal lives looked like. None of them saw her. None of them cared. She was invisible until she wasn't. The train slowed approaching the Monroe station. Lena's pulse hammered. One more stop. Then she'd transfer. Lose herself in the evening crowds. Make it to Sarah's apartment on the south side. Sarah who didn't ask questions. Sarah who kept her spare bedroom unlocked. That's when she saw him. Travis, forcing through the doors at the far end of the carriage. Soaked shirt clinging to that thick frame she used to find comforting before she learned what those hands could do. His eyes locked onto her instantly. He smiled. Not the fake smile he wore for coworkers and neighbors. The real one. The one that meant pain. "Lena!" he shouted over the noise of the train. People glanced up, looked away. "Baby, come on, let's go home." Her legs locked. The duffel bag slipped from her grip and hit the floor. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything except watch him shove through bodies like they were furniture, closing the distance between them with every lurching step. "You're making a scene," Travis said, quieter now. Close enough she could smell the beer on his breath. "People are staring. Stay away from me." Her voice came out barely above a whisper. "Or what?" He laughed, reached for her arm. "You gonna call the cops? Tell them what? That your husband wants to take you home?" His fingers closed around her wrist, tightened. She tried to pull away, but his grip was iron. The train started slowing, brakes squealing. Travis dragged her toward the doors, his free hand gripping her shoulder hard enough to leave marks. "Let go. Shut up," he hissed in her ear. "You embarrassed me enough tonight." The other passengers looked away. A woman in a business suit found something fascinating on her phone. An old man in a Cubs cap stared at the floor. A teenager in headphones bobbed his head to music he couldn't hear. No one moved. No one said a word. Then someone stood. A man in a black tailored suit. Mid-30s, maybe? Asian features, hair swept back with that kind of precision that suggested discipline, not vanity. He didn't say anything, didn't move. Just stood there in the aisle watching with eyes so calm they felt dangerous. Travis barely glanced at him. "Mind your business." The man tilted his head slightly. "Let her go." His voice was quiet, controlled, the kind of quiet that made you listen harder. I said, mind your, let her go. Travis's grip tightened. This is my wife. We're going home, so unless you want... The man moved. No warning, no visible tension. One moment he was standing 3 feet away. The next he was close enough Lena could smell expensive cologne and something else underneath. Gun oil, maybe, or polished steel. His hand came up, caught Travis's wrist in a grip that made the bigger man's eyes go wide, then twisted, sharp, efficient, brutal. Travis screamed. The sound cut through the carriage like a knife. His knees buckled. The man, this stranger in the perfect suit, bent Travis's arm at an angle that made Lena's stomach turn. No punches. No shoving. Just leverage and precision and the kind of control that suggested he could break every bone in Travis's body without breaking a sweat. You're hurting him, some woman shouted from the back. The stranger didn't acknowledge her, didn't acknowledge anyone. His eyes stayed locked on Travis, who was now halfway to the floor, face red, veins bulging in his neck. If you touch her again, the stranger said, voice still terrifyingly calm, I will find you, and what I do to you will make this feel gentle. Do you understand? Travis tried to nod, failed, managed to choke out something that might have been yes. The train doors opened. 2 men in dark suits appeared on the platform like they'd been waiting. They didn't look like commuters. They looked like soldiers. The stranger released Travis, who collapsed forward onto his hands and knees, gasping. The 2 men grabbed him under the arms and hauled him through the doors before he could protest, before anyone could react, before the moment even registered as real. The doors closed. The train moved, and Travis was gone. Lena stood frozen, staring at the empty platform disappearing into darkness. Her wrist still burned where Travis had grabbed her. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might crack her ribs. The stranger stood beside her, adjusting his cuffs like nothing had happened. Are you injured? He asked. She shook her head, couldn't find words. You need to sit. He guided her to an empty seat with one hand barely touching her elbow. Respectful, careful. Nothing like Travis. She collapsed onto the hard plastic, legs shaking, duffel bag clutched to her chest again. The other passengers had already returned to their phones and music. The old man in the Cubs cap glanced over once, then looked away. Whatever they'd witnessed didn't register enough to interrupt their commute. The stranger remained standing beside her, watching, protecting. Who are you? Lena finally managed. Someone who doesn't like bullies. Those men, the ones who took him, they work for you? A pause. Yes. What are they going to do to him? Remind him of the consequences of his choices. Lena's hands wouldn't stop shaking. He'll come back. He always comes back. The stranger looked down at her with those impossibly calm eyes. Not this time. You don't know him. You don't know what he's like when he's... I know exactly what he's like. The stranger's voice stayed level, but something cold moved beneath the surface. Men like him operate on fear and control. When that control is removed, they crumble. Your husband is no exception. He's not my husband anymore, Lena said quietly. Good. The train slowed, approaching the next station. The stranger glanced at the doors, then back at her. This is your stop. How do you be... You were looking at the map when I boarded. He gestured to her duffel. And you packed light. You're running, but wherever you're going, he'll find you. Men like him always do. Lena felt tears burning behind her eyes. Then what am I supposed to do? The stranger pulled a card from his jacket. Plain white. Nothing on it except a phone number in black ink. Call this number, tonight. Someone will answer. Who? Someone who can keep you safe. The doors opened. Cold November air rushed into the carriage. Lena stood on shaking legs, duffel over her shoulder, card pressed between her fingers. The stranger remained in the train, watching her with that same unsettling calm. Why are you helping me? She asked. He didn't answer immediately. When he spoke, his voice carried something that might have been sadness or memory, because no one helped when it mattered. The doors started closing. Lena stepped onto the platform and turned back, but the stranger had already moved to a window seat, eyes forward, expression unreadable. The train pulled away into darkness, and she stood alone on the platform, holding a card with no name and a number that might change everything or lead absolutely nowhere. She pulled out her phone, stared at the number. Her thumb hovered over the dial button. Travis's voice echoed in her head. You think you can just leave? You think anyone's going to want damaged goods like you? She pressed dial. It rang twice. Kale Jin's office. A woman's voice. Professional. No nonsense. How can I help you? Lena opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. Someone gave me this number on the train. He said, Your name? Lena. Lena Vale. Hold, please. Silence. Then a different voice. Male. The same terrifying calm from the train. Ms. Vale, I'm glad you called. I don't understand what's happening. You need somewhere safe to stay tonight. Somewhere he can't find you. Am I correct? Yes, but a car is already on its way. Black sedan. Illinois plates. The driver's name is Marcus. He'll take you somewhere secure. I can't just get in a car with a stranger. I don't even know who you are. My name is Kyle Jin. I own Jin Security Consulting. We specialize in high-risk protection for individuals in dangerous situations. A pause. Your husband has a history of domestic violence. 3 previous partners filed restraining orders. 2 dropped charges after being threatened. 1 disappeared and later turned up in a hospital claiming she fell downstairs. Lena's blood went cold. How do you know all that? Because I make it my business to know. The question is whether you want to spend tonight running and hiding or whether you want to be somewhere he can't reach you. Your choice. A black sedan pulled up to the curb. Tinted windows. A man in a dark suit stepped out. Older. Maybe 50. He held up a phone showing her face. A photo she didn't remember anyone taking, probably from social media. Miss Vale? He called out. I'm Marcus. Lena looked at the phone in her hand, at the car, at the empty street stretching in both directions. Every instinct screamed not to trust this, to run, to disappear into the night on her own terms. But 10 years with Travis had taught her something else too, that running alone only lasted until you ran out of places to hide. Where would you take me? She asked into the phone. Somewhere he'll never find you, Kyle said. You have my word. Why should I trust you? Because 2 hours ago I was a stranger who could have walked away. But I didn't, and neither did you. A pause. The car is waiting, so is your husband. One of them leads to safety, the other leads back to him. Choose. She ended the call, walked to the sedan. Marcus opened the back door without a word. The interior smelled like leather and something clean she couldn't identify. No fast food wrappers, no trash, just pristine black leather and tinted windows. She got in. Marcus closed the door, returned to the driver's seat, and pulled away from the curb without asking for directions. No small talk. No questions. Just smooth acceleration through Chicago's nighttime streets, while Lena watched the city blur past and wondered what kind of choice she'd just made. The drive took 30 minutes through neighborhoods that got progressively more expensive. They passed brownstones that became glass towers. Streetlights got brighter. Sidewalks got cleaner. This wasn't the Chicago she knew. This was the Chicago for people who lived above the city, not in it. Marcus pulled into an underground garage beneath a building so tall she couldn't see the top. Security cameras tracked their movement. A gate rolled open automatically. He parked in a spot marked private, one of only 3 in the entire garage. This way, Marcus said, opening her door. She followed him to an elevator with no buttons, just a keycard scanner. Marcus swiped. The doors opened. He stepped aside. Penthouse is the only stop, he said. Mr. Jin is waiting. The elevator rose so smoothly she barely felt it move. Glass walls showed the city dropping away beneath her, lights spreading out like stars. Lake Michigan, a dark void beyond the shore. She was rising above everything, above the noise, above the danger, above the life she'd known for 10 brutal years. The doors opened directly into a penthouse that looked like something from a movie. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Minimalist furniture in blacks and grays, hardwood floors polished to a mirror shine. A kitchen that probably cost more than she'd make in 5 years. And silence. Complete, perfect silence except for the faint hum of the city far below. Kyle Jin stood near the windows, hands behind his back, watching the skyline. He turned as she stepped out of the elevator. In the light of the penthouse, he looked different. Younger, maybe? Or just clearer. Sharp features, dark eyes that missed nothing. The kind of face that would be handsome if it wasn't so carefully controlled. His suit probably cost more than her car. The watch on his wrist definitely did. "Ms. Vale," he said. "Welcome." She gripped her duffel tighter. "I need to know what's happening, who you are, why you're helping me." "I told you, I don't like bullies." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have." He gestured to a white sofa facing the windows. "Please, sit. You're safe here." "How can you possibly promise that?" "Because this building has security. Most government facilities would envy. Because every entrance is monitored. Because I own every floor above the 40th, and the people who work for me would die before letting anyone unauthorized reach this level." He paused. "And because your husband is currently being reminded that coming near you again would be the last mistake he ever makes." Lena felt her knees go weak. "You're going to kill him?" "No. I'm going to give him the choice to walk away. Most men in his position choose survival over pride." Kyle's expression didn't change. "If he's stupid enough to choose pride, that's his decision." "This is insane. I don't even know you. You could be worse than him?" Kyle asked quietly. "You're right. You don't know me, and you have no reason to trust me. But you got in the car anyway, which means some part of you understands that staying on those streets tonight meant dying slowly or dying quickly. Those were your only options." "So what? You're offering me a third option? Live in your penthouse like some kind of guest?" Kale interrupted. "You're a guest, not a prisoner, not an employee, not anything except someone who needs safety until she can rebuild her life on her own terms." He moved to the kitchen, poured water into a glass from a tap that probably dispensed filtered glacial runoff, brought it to her. "You can leave whenever you want. The elevator works both ways, but I'd prefer you stay until your situation is resolved." Lena took the water. Her hands were still shaking. "What situation?" "Your husband filed a missing persons report 2 hours ago. Told the police you're mentally unstable and suicidal. He's very convincing. The kind of man who knows how to play victim when it suits him." Kale's jaw tightened. "My people are currently ensuring the police understand the actual situation. By tomorrow morning, there will be a restraining order filed on your behalf with evidence of domestic violence going back 7 years. Your husband will be encouraged to accept it." "How do you have evidence going back?" "Medical records. Police reports you filed and then withdrew. Testimony from neighbors. Security footage from the hospital where you work showing injuries consistent with abuse." Kale's voice stayed level, but something cold moved behind his eyes. "You've been documenting your own suffering for years, Ms. Vale. You just never had someone with the resources to compile it." Lena set the water down before she dropped it. "You had me investigated. In the 30 minutes between the train and your arrival here, yes. That's insane. That's thorough." He moved back to the windows. "You can hate me for it if you want, but hate me from somewhere safe." She should leave, should grab her duffel and walk straight back into that elevator. This man, this stranger, had torn through her privacy in half an hour, had made decisions about her life without asking, had inserted himself into a situation he didn't understand, but he'd also saved her life. And standing in this pristine penthouse with the city glowing below, she felt something she hadn't felt in 10 years. Safe. Not free, not healed, not whole, just safe. "There's a bedroom down that hall," Kyle said without turning around. "Private bathroom, fresh towels, clothes in the closet. You can lock the door from the inside. I won't disturb you." "Where will you sleep?" "I don't sleep much." "That's not an answer. It's the only one I have," he said again. Lena stood on shaking legs, grabbed her duffel, walked down the hall past the kind of artwork that belonged in museums. The bedroom was bigger than her entire apartment, king-size bed with white sheets, a bathroom with a shower that could fit 4 people, a closet full of women's clothes in her exact size. She froze, walked back into the living room. "The clothes fit me. Perfectly. How did you—" Lucky. Kale didn't look surprised by the question. "I have an assistant who's very efficient." "You had someone buy me an entire wardrobe in 30 minutes? Money makes impossible things possible, Ms. Vale. You'll learn that living here." "I'm not living here." "Then staying here," he corrected, "temporarily." She wanted to argue, wanted to demand answers that made sense, but exhaustion crashed over her like a wave. 10 years of tension, 10 years of fear, 10 years of looking over her shoulder. It all hit at once, and her legs buckled. Kael caught her before she hit the floor. His hands were gentle, steadying, nothing like Travis's grip. He helped her to the couch without a word, brought a blanket from somewhere, draped it over her shaking body. "Sleep," he said quietly. "Everything else can wait." "I can't just—" "Yes, you can." And somehow, impossibly, she did. She woke 6 hours later to sunlight streaming through those massive windows and the smell of coffee. For one terrifying moment, she forgot where she was. Then memory crashed back. The train. Travis. Kael. The penthouse. She sat up. The blanket fell away. She was still fully clothed, still wearing her scrubs. Her duffel sat where she'd dropped it. Kael stood in the kitchen pouring coffee into 2 white mugs. He'd changed into dark slacks and a gray shirt rolled to his elbows. He looked like he'd been awake for hours. "Good morning," he said. "Is it? Better than yesterday." She walked to the kitchen on unsteady legs, accepted the coffee he offered. It was perfect, exactly the way she liked it, which should have been impossible. "How did you—" "You worked at Northwestern Memorial Hospital for 6 years. The cafeteria staff remember you order the same coffee every morning. Black, 2 sugars, half-inch of cream." He sipped his own coffee. "I make it my business to know things." "That's creepy." "That's protection." "Where's Travis?" "In a hotel on the south side under police protection. He filed assault charges against me. They were dropped an hour later when security footage from the train mysteriously appeared showing him attacking you first." "You manufactured evidence?" "I preserved evidence that already existed." Kael set his mug down. "The restraining order was approved at 6 this morning. He's legally required to stay 500 yards away from you at all times. He's also been suspended from his job pending investigation." Lena felt her hand shaking again. "He'll never accept that. He'll come after me anyway. If he does, he'll deal with me. You can't just—" "I already did." Kael's eyes locked onto hers. "You asked me last night why I'm helping you. The truth is I don't have a good answer. I saw something happening that shouldn't happen. I had the resources to stop it, so I did. Everything else is just logistics." "So what happens now?" "Now you decide what kind of life you want to build. You have time, resources, safety. What you do with those things is up to you." Lena looked around the penthouse, at the expensive furniture, the perfect view, the pristine kitchen. Everything was immaculate, controlled, perfect, just like Kael. And she realized she'd traded one cage for another. Maybe this one had better bars. Maybe the man holding the key was gentler, but she was still trapped, still dependent, still not free. "I need to leave," she said. "You're not a prisoner." "Then why does it feel like I am?" Kael's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. "Because you've spent 10 years in captivity, and freedom feels terrifying. But I'm not Travis, Ms. Vale. You can walk out that door right now and I won't stop you. I'll even drive you wherever you want to go. And if I do, if I leave, then you leave, and I hope you find whatever you're looking for." "Just like that?" "Just like that." She stared at him, at this stranger who'd appeared out of nowhere and upended her entire life in less than 12 hours. Who'd investigated her past, manipulated her present, promised her a future she didn't ask for, and who was now offering to let her walk away without consequences. "Who are you really?" she asked. Kael smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "Someone who understands what it's like to be trapped, and someone who has the power to offer you what I never had." "Which is?" "A choice." The word hung between them. Heavy, loaded, dangerous. Lena looked at the elevator, at the door to freedom, then back at the penthouse, at the safety she'd never known existed. Travis was out there, angry, humiliated, probably planning his next move. The restraining order was just paper. It wouldn't stop him when rage took over. But Kael's resources weren't paper. They were steel. They were men in dark suits and security cameras, and the kind of power that made Travis disappear off a subway train in 3 seconds. "If I stay," she said carefully, "what does that look like? However you want it to look. You have your own space, your own time. I won't ask questions about your past or demands about your future. You're free to come and go. Work if you want. Rest if you need to. Build whatever life you're trying to build." He paused. "The only thing I ask is that you don't put yourself in unnecessary danger. which means staying away from places he knows, at least until the situation is fully resolved. And when will that be? When you feel safe enough to leave? It should have sounded like a trap, should have felt like manipulation. But the way Kyle said it, flat, factual, without pressure, made it sound like exactly what it was. An offer, not a demand, not a cage, just an option that didn't exist yesterday. Okay, Lena heard herself say. I'll stay, for now. Kyle nodded once. There's food in the fridge, laptop on the desk if you need it. Password is on a note underneath. My number is programmed into the phone on the counter. Use it if you need anything. Where are you going? Work. What kind of work? He paused at the elevator. The kind that keeps people like you safe from people like him. The doors closed and he was gone. Lena stood alone in the massive penthouse watching the morning sun climb over Lake Michigan. Somewhere out there, Travis was probably screaming at lawyers or police or anyone who'd listen. Somewhere out there, her old life was continuing without her. And somewhere in this city, Kael Jin was moving through shadows, making sure she'd never have to go back. She poured another cup of coffee, walked to the windows, and for the first time in 10 years, she didn't flinch when she saw her reflection. But that peace wouldn't last, because 3 days later, she'd discover exactly who Kael Jin really was, and why men in expensive suits listened when he spoke, and what kind of world she'd actually agreed to enter when she got in that car. 3 days of silence made Lena's skin crawl. She woke each morning to coffee already brewed, found meals prepared in containers with handwritten labels, chicken, rice, vegetables, dates indicating freshness. The penthouse hummed with invisible care. Towels appeared folded. Groceries materialized in the fridge. Her laundry vanished and returned clean. But Kael himself remained a ghost. She'd see him occasionally, late at night standing by the windows, phone pressed to his ear, speaking Korean in tones so low she couldn't make out words. Early mornings leaving through the elevator in different suits, all black, all perfect. He never asked how she slept, never invaded her space, never demanded conversation. It should have felt respectful. Instead, it felt like living with a stranger who happened to own the walls around her. On the fourth morning, she found him in the kitchen at dawn, pouring coffee with the mechanical precision of someone who'd done it 10,000 times. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. His shirt was wrinkled. Not much, just enough to suggest he'd been wearing it for 20 hours straight. You look like hell, she said. He glanced up. Good morning to you, too. When's the last time you slept? I slept. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have, he said, and she realized he used that phrase like a shield, a wall, a way to end conversations before they started. She poured her own coffee, added sugar, cream, watched him watch her do it. You don't have to keep avoiding me, you know. I'm not avoiding you. Then what do you call this? You're a ghost in your own home. I call it giving you space. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed. You've spent 10 years with someone who monitored your every move. I thought distance would be preferable. Distance feels like you regret bringing me here. Something flickered across his face. I don't regret it. Then what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Kael, your husband violated the restraining order yesterday. His voice went flat, clinical. He was arrested outside Northwestern Memorial. Apparently he thought you'd return to work. Lena's coffee cup froze halfway to her mouth. What happened? My people were already watching the hospital. They called police before he could approach anyone. He spent 12 hours in county lockup, made bail this morning. So he's out. Yes. And you're telling me this why? To scare me? To remind me I need you? I'm telling you because you have a right to know. Kael's jaw tightened. And because this morning he made a phone call from jail to his brother, who happens to work for a private security firm that handles problematic situations for people willing to pay. The air in the kitchen went cold. What kind of problematic situations? Lena asked. The kind where people disappear and no one asks questions. You think he's going to... I think your husband is desperate, humiliated, and stupid enough to believe violence will solve his problems. Which means you're not safe anywhere except here. Kael set his coffee down untouched. I've increased security. There are 2 men stationed in the building lobby at all times. 3 more monitoring external access points. No one gets to this floor without biometric clearance. You're turning this place into a prison. I'm keeping you alive. By locking me in a tower? She slammed her cup on the counter, hard enough coffee sloshed over the rim. I didn't escape Travis just to become someone else's responsibility. You're not my responsibility. Kale's voice stayed level, but something sharp moved underneath. You're my guest. And as long as you're under my roof, I will ensure no one hurts you. If that offends your sense of independence, the elevator still works. Don't give me that bullshit. You know I can't leave. Because you're afraid. Yes, I'm terrified. Are you happy now? The words ripped out of her. I'm terrified every second of every day that he's going to find me, that he's going to drag me back, that next time he won't just threaten to kill me, he'll actually do it. So yeah, I'm staying in your perfect penthouse with your perfect security and your perfect coffee because the alternative is dying alone in some motel room waiting for him to kick down the door. Silence dropped between them like a blade. Kale's expression didn't change, but his hands gripped the counter edge white-knuckled. Then we're in agreement. About what? That you're staying. I don't have a choice. Everyone has a choice, Ms. Vale. Yours is between comfortable fear or dangerous freedom. Most people choose comfort. There's no shame in it. The way he said it, flat, factual, completely without judgment, made her want to throw something. You don't know anything about me. I know you're a nurse who specialized in emergency trauma. I know you worked double shifts to pay for your husband's gambling debts. I know you filed 3 police reports in 10 years and withdrawn all of them within 24 hours. I know you have a sister in Portland you haven't spoken to in 5 years because your husband forbade contact with your family. He paused. I know everything about you, Ms. Vale. What I don't know is who you'd be without him. That's none of your business. You're right, it's not. Kyle pushed away from the counter. But you're living in my home, eating my food, using my resources to hide from a man who wants to kill you. So forgive me for taking an interest in whether the person I'm protecting is actually worth protecting. The words hit like a slap. Lena stared at him, at this man who'd saved her life and then dissected it like a cadaver on an exam table, who knew her medical history and her coffee preferences and her family estrangement, who'd built a fortress around her and called it hospitality. Get out, she whispered. This is my home. Then I'll get out. She stormed toward the bedroom, started throwing clothes into her duffel with shaking hands. Didn't matter that they weren't hers. Didn't matter that she had nowhere to go. She'd sleep on Sarah's couch. She'd sleep in a shelter. She'd sleep on the goddamn street before she spent another second in this cage pretending it was sanctuary. Kyle appeared in the doorway. Where will you go? Anywhere but here. Your friend Sarah's apartment? The one Travis already knows about? The one he's probably watching right now? She froze. How do you... Because I had it surveilled yesterday. There's a dark blue Honda parked across the street from her building. Same car that followed you home from work 6 months ago. Same car that was parked outside Northwestern Memorial when Travis was arrested. Kyle's voice stayed terrifyingly calm. You can leave if you want, but you'll be dead within 48 hours. You're lying. I'm stating facts. If you don't believe me, call Sarah. Ask if anyone's been hanging around her building. Ask if she's gotten any strange phone calls. Ask if she's seen anyone matching Travis's description. Lena's hands went numb. The duffel slipped from her grip. She pulled out her phone with fingers that wouldn't cooperate. Found Sarah's number. Hit dial. It rang 4 times. Lena? Oh my God, where have you been? I've been calling for 3 days. Sarah, has anyone been asking about me? A pause. What? No, Travis called yesterday looking for you, but I told him... He called you? Yeah, said you'd run off and he was worried. I told him I hadn't heard from you. Why? What's going on? Have you seen anyone hanging around your building? There's always people around. This is Chicago. Blue Honda, probably parked across the street. Another pause, longer this time. How did you know about that? Lena's stomach dropped. It's there right now? Has been for 2 days. I figured it was someone's new car or something. Sarah's voice pitched higher. Lena, what's happening? Where are you? I can't tell you. Are you safe? She looked at Kyle standing in the doorway, at the man who'd invaded her privacy and controlled her movements and built a prison cell disguised as a penthouse. I don't know. Do you need me to call the police? No, just stay away from that car. Lock your doors. Don't answer if anyone asks about me. You're scaring me. Good. Be scared. It's safer. She ended the call before Sarah could ask more questions. Kael hadn't moved. Satisfied? He's watching her apartment. Yes. Because he thinks I'll go there. Yes. So I'm trapped here. You're protected here. Kael stepped into the room, not threatening, just present. There's a difference. Not from where I'm standing. Then change your perspective. She laughed. It came out broken. Change my perspective? You want me to be grateful? To thank you for turning my life into a surveillance state? I want you to understand that the alternative is death. His voice finally cracked, just slightly, just enough to reveal something raw underneath. I've seen what men like your husband do when they're cornered. I've cleaned up the aftermath. I've identified bodies and notified families and watched people who thought they were safe disappear because they underestimated how far obsession will go. So no, I don't want your gratitude. I want you alive. Why? The question ripped out of her. Why do you even care? Kael's expression went carefully blank. I already told you. No, the real reason. Not some bullshit about not liking bullies. Why did you get involved? Why are you spending money and resources and time on someone you don't even know? Because I can. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. She wanted to scream, wanted to throw something, wanted to crack through that perfect control and find the human being underneath. Who are you really? And don't give me that security consultant garbage. Real consultants don't have private elevators and biometric security and men who make people disappear off subway trains. You should rest. Answer the question. No. Why not? Because the truth won't change anything. You'll still be in danger. I'll still be the only thing standing between you and a violent death. And knowing who I am won't make you trust me more. It'll only give you more reasons to leave. Maybe I want more reasons. Kael smiled. It looked painful. Maybe you do. He turned and walked out. Lena stood in the bedroom, surrounded by clothes that weren't hers in a home that wasn't hers under protection she didn't ask for. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Still think you're safe? He can't protect you forever? Her hand started shaking. She dropped the phone like it burned, backed away until her shoulders hit the wall, slid down to the floor with her knees pulled to her chest, and her breath coming in short gasps that wouldn't slow down. Kael appeared in the doorway, looked at the phone on the floor, picked it up, read the message. His jaw went rigid. When did this come? Just now. He was already dialing. Marcus, I need a trace on this number. Priority 1. A pause. I don't care if it's a burner. Find the cell tower. Cross-reference with known locations. I want an address in 10 minutes. He ended the call. Looked at Lena still huddled on the floor. Did he call or just text? Just text. How did he get this number? I don't know. It's new. You gave it to me. Which means someone leaked it. Kael's voice went cold, dangerous. Or he's better connected than I thought. Can't you trace it? Already being done. He crouched down, didn't touch her, just stayed at eye level. Listen to me. This is psychological warfare. He's trying to make you panic, make you run, make you do something stupid. It's working. I know. Which is why you need to breathe. I can't. Yes, you can. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Focus on my voice. She tried. Failed. Her lungs wouldn't cooperate. Her chest felt compressed. Everything was spinning, and Travis was out there somewhere sending messages and watching Sarah's apartment and planning something terrible, and she'd never be free, never be safe, never be anything except prey waiting for the hunter to close in. Lena? Kael's voice cut through the spiral. Look at me. She forced her eyes up. You're having a panic attack. It feels like dying. But you're not dying. You're breathing. You're safe. I'm right here. You can't promise that. Yes, I can, because I've built a career on keeping impossible promises, and I don't plan to fail now. His eyes locked onto hers. Breathe with me. In, out, in, out. She followed his rhythm, slow, steady. Her lungs started cooperating. The spinning slowed, the crushing weight on her chest eased just enough to let oxygen through. Good, Kael said quietly. Again. They sat like that for 5 minutes. Him crouched on the floor, her pressed against the wall, both breathing in sync until her heart rate dropped below catastrophic. His phone buzzed. He answered without breaking eye contact. "Talk to me." A pause. "Confirmed?" Another pause. "Good. Maintain surveillance, but do not engage. I want to know every move he makes." He ended the call. The text came from a burner phone purchased yesterday afternoon in Pilsen, same neighborhood where Travis's brother lives. So it was him, or someone working with him. Either way, he's escalating, which means we escalate too. What does that mean? It means I'm done playing defense. Cale stood, offered his hand. "It's time to remind your husband that fear works both ways." She took his hand, let him pull her to her feet. "What are you going to do?" "Something I should have done 3 days ago." "Kyle, trust me." "I don't even know you." "Then trust that I have more to lose than you do if this goes wrong." "How do you figure that?" He looked at her for a long moment. "Because I don't make a habit of bringing people into my home, and I especially don't make a habit of caring whether they live or die. So if something happens to you, it means I made the wrong call. And I don't make wrong calls. Everyone makes wrong calls. Not me." He walked toward the elevator. "Stay here. Lock the bedroom door. Don't open it for anyone except me." "Where are you going?" "To have a conversation." "With who?" "Your husband." Fear spiked through her. "Are you insane? If you go near him, he'll what? Call the police? File assault charges?" He already tried that. It didn't work. Hale stepped into the elevator. Sometimes the only language violent men understand is violence, and I happen to be fluent. The doors started closing. "Hale, wait!" But he was already gone. Lena stood alone in the penthouse, listening to her pulse hammer in her ears, walked to the windows, stared down at the city 40 stories below. Somewhere out there, Kyle Jin was hunting the man who terrorized her for 10 years, and she had no idea whether to hope he succeeded or pray he failed. 2 hours passed like decades. She paced, made tea she didn't drink, started 3 different phone calls and ended them before anyone answered, checked the locks on the bedroom door 6 times, jumped at every sound. When the elevator finally opened, she nearly collapsed with relief. Then she saw his face. Cale walked into the penthouse moving like someone who'd been in a fight. Not limping, not bleeding, but different, harder. His knuckles were red. His shirt had a tear along the collar. His eyes carried something dark she hadn't seen before. "What did you do?" she whispered. "I made sure he understands the consequences of his choices." "Did you hurt him?" "I convinced him that continuing down his current path would be inadvisable." "That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting." He walked past her to the bar, poured 2 fingers of whiskey, drank it in one swallow, poured another. "You're bleeding." He glanced at his hand. "It's not my blood." "Kyle." He pulled a knife. "I took it away. End of story." "Did you kill him?" "No." "Did you want to?" The pause stretched too long. "Yes." The confession landed between them like a grenade. Lena stared at this man who'd saved her life and invaded her privacy and just admitted he'd wanted to commit murder on her behalf. "What are you?" "I'm someone who solves problems other people can't solve." "By hurting people?" "By doing what's necessary." "That's not the same thing." "In my world, it is." He set the glass down. "Your husband won't bother you again. He's currently on a bus to Iowa, where his cousin owns a farm. He'll stay there for the next 6 months, minimum. If he returns to Chicago, certain information about his gambling debts and tax evasion will mysteriously appear in federal databases. He understands this. He agreed to the terms." "You threatened him." "I gave him options. He chose the one that lets him keep breathing. And if he comes back anyway." Cale's expression went flat. "Then I'll keep the promise I made tonight." "Which was?" "That if he ever touches you again, they'll never find his body." The words should have terrified her, should have sent her running for the elevator in the street and whatever dangerous freedom waited beyond Kyle's fortress. Instead, she felt something else, relief, because for the first time in 10 years, someone had stood between her and Travis had blinked first. "I don't know what to say," she managed. "You don't have to say anything." "You could have killed him." "Yes." "But you didn't." "No." Why not? Kale looked at her with those dark, tired eyes. Because you're not the kind of person who wants that blood on your conscience, and I'm trying very hard not to become the kind of person who forgets the difference. The vulnerability in those words cracked something open in her chest. This man, this dangerous, controlled, terrifying man, was trying to be better than his instincts for someone he barely knew. She crossed the room, stood close enough to see the exhaustion in his face. Thank you. Don't thank me for being a monster. You're not a monster. You don't know what I've done. I know you saved my life. Twice. She reached out slowly, touched his bloodied knuckles. And I know you could have made this easier on yourself by just letting Travis disappear, but you gave him a chance instead. I gave him a chance to run. There's a difference. Not to me. Kale looked down at her hand on his. You should clean this. You should let me. He didn't pull away, didn't protest, just followed her to the bathroom where she ran warm water and clean dried blood from his knuckles with the same careful precision she'd used on 1,000 trauma patients. He didn't flinch, didn't speak, just watched her work with an intensity that made her skin prickle. This one's deep, she said, examining a split across his middle knuckle. You might need stitches. I've had worse. That's not comforting. It's not meant to be. She found butterfly bandages in the medicine cabinet, applied them with steady hands. You do this often? Beat people up for strangers? You're not a stranger anymore. Then what am I? He didn't answer, just pulled his hand back gently once she finished. You should sleep. It's 3 p.m. You look exhausted. So do you. I don't sleep much. You said that already. Because it's still true. She wanted to push. Wanted to crack through that wall and find out what made Kale Jin sacrifice sleep and violence and privacy for someone he met on a subway train. But exhaustion was catching up. The adrenaline crash made her legs weak. Will you be here when I wake up? She asked. Where else would I go? I don't know. That's the problem. Something softened in his expression. I'll be here. Promise? I don't make promises I can't keep. Is that a yes? Yes. She walked to the guest bedroom, closed the door, fell onto the bed still fully dressed, and for the first time since the subway train, she slept without nightmares. When she woke, the sun was setting. The penthouse glowed orange through those massive windows. She walked out to find Kyle exactly where she'd left him, standing by the windows, phone pressed to his ear, speaking Korean in low, dangerous tones. He saw her, ended the call mid-sentence. Hungry? He asked. Starving. He ordered Thai food. They ate on the couch overlooking the city while CNN played on mute, and neither of them mentioned Travis or Iowa or blood on knuckles. It felt almost normal, almost like 2 people sharing a meal instead of a predator and prey negotiating survival. Can I ask you something? Lena said. You can ask. I might not answer. Why don't you sleep? Kale set his fork down. Why do you think? Nightmares? Something like that. About what? About the things I've done, the people I've hurt, the lines I've crossed that can't be uncrossed. He looked at her. I'm not a good man, Lena. I'm a necessary one. There's a difference. I don't believe that. You should. Why? Because good men don't do what I did tonight. They call the police, file reports, let the system handle it. His jaw tightened. I bypassed the system, threatened a man with violence, forced him out of his home and his city. That's not justice, that's power. And sometimes power is the only language bullies understand. That's a dangerous philosophy. So is letting violent men hurt innocent people because the system's too slow to stop them? Kale studied her. You're defending me. I'm defending the person who saved my life. Even knowing what I'm capable of? Especially knowing that. Something shifted in his expression. Not quite a smile, but close. You're either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both. Definitely both. They finished eating in comfortable silence. Lena helped clean up even though Kyle insisted she didn't have to. Then they stood together at the windows watching the city lights blink on like stars against the darkening sky. He won't come back, Kyle said quietly. I made sure of it. How can you be certain? Because I know fear. And I know when someone's been broken enough to stay broken. That sounds like experience talking. It is. You gonna tell me about it? No. Why not? Because some stories don't have happy endings, and you've had enough darkness for one lifetime. So have you, apparently. He didn't respond, just stood there watching the city with eyes that looked decades older than his face. Lena's phone buzzed, text from Sarah. Just saw the news. They found Travis's car abandoned near O'Hare. Police think he fled the state. Are you okay? She showed Kyle the message. He read it without expression. That was fast. You leaked the car location. I suggested where they might want to look. You're terrifying, you know that? Yes. But also kind of brilliant. I've been called worse. She typed a response to Sarah. I'm safe. I'll explain everything soon. Love you. Cale's phone buzzed. He glanced at it. His expression went cold. What's wrong? Lena asked. Travis's brother. He just posted bail for assault charges filed 3 hours ago. Apparently he got into a fight at a bar in Pilsen. So the bar is 2 blocks from here, and the assault victim is one of my security team. The air went cold. It's a message, Lena whispered. Yes. They're coming for me. They're trying to. Cale was already moving, pulling his phone, dialing. Marcus, lock down the building. No one in or out without my personal authorization. Deploy the full team. I want eyes on every entrance and rooftop access within a 3-block radius. He paused, because Travis's brother just made this personal. He ended the call. Looked at Lena. Pack what you need. We're leaving. Leaving where? Somewhere they'll never find you. Kyle, this building is compromised. If they got to Marcus, they have our security protocols, which means staying here is suicide. He was already pulling a go bag from a hidden closet. We have maybe 20 minutes before they make their move. Maybe less. How do you know they're coming tonight? Because that's what I would do. He tossed her the duffel she'd arrived with. Pack. Now. She threw clothes into the bag with shaking hands. Her mind raced. Where will we go? I have a property outside the city, off-grid. No records. No GPS. Nothing that traces back to me. Why didn't we go there from the beginning? Because I thought the security here was enough. His jaw tightened. I was wrong. The elevator chimed. They both froze. Cale's hand went to the small of his back, came out holding a handgun that appeared from nowhere. He moved to the elevator with the kind of fluid precision that said he'd done this before, many times. The doors opened. Marcus stepped out, bloodied and limping, holding his ribs. They're in the building, he gasped. 4 men, armed. They took out Phillips and Chen on the loading dock. I barely made it to the service elevator. Cale caught him before he collapsed. How long? 5 minutes, maybe less. They're coming up the fire stairs, bypass the main elevators, which means they have the building schematics. Cale's voice went ice cold. Get to the panic room. Lock yourself in. Don't open it for anyone but me. Boss? That's an order. Marcus nodded, limped toward a hidden door in the far wall, disappeared inside. Kyle turned to Lena. Change of plans. We're going to the roof. The roof? We're 40 stories up, and there's a helicopter waiting. He grabbed her arm. Not rough, just urgent. Move. Now. They ran for the service stairs. Kyle moved like a shadow, gun up, eyes scanning every corner. Lena followed, heart hammering, duffel bouncing against her hip. They climbed 3 flights before hearing voices below. Male, angry, armed. Cale grabbed her, pulled her into a maintenance closet, pressed his back against the door, put a finger to his lips. Footsteps thundered past. Top floor. That's where they said she'd be. And Jin? Kill him if you have to. The contract's for the girl. Contract. The words settled in Lena's stomach like ice. They waited until the voices faded. Then Kyle pushed out of the closet and kept climbing. Faster now. Lena's legs burned. Her lungs screamed. But she didn't stop. They burst onto the roof into cold wind and city noise. A helicopter sat 50 feet away, rotors already spinning. A pilot waved them over. Cale pulled Lena across the roof at a dead run. Gunshots cracked behind them. Cale spun. Returned fire. 3 controlled shots that dropped someone back through the roof access door. Get in, he shouted. Lena dove into the helicopter. Kyle followed. The pilot pulled up before the door even closed. The city tilted sickeningly as they banked hard and climbed. More gunshots from below. Something pinged off the helicopter's skid. Then they were above the buildings, above the danger, above everything. Lena pressed against the window, watching the penthouse shrink below them, watching the life she'd built for 4 days disappear into urban sprawl and flashing police lights. "Where are we going?" she shouted over the rotors. Kyle's expression was carved from granite. "Somewhere they'll never follow." "How did they find us?" "Someone talked. Someone always talks." "Your people?" "Maybe. Or someone close to Travis is better connected than I thought." He stared out the window. "Either way, we can't go back. Not until this is finished." "What does finishing it look like?" He turned to her, and in his eyes she saw something that made her blood run cold. Not fear, not anger, just cold, calculated certainty. "It looks like war." The helicopter cut through darkness like a blade through water. Below them, Chicago became a grid of light bleeding into farmland, then forest, then nothing except black earth and the occasional glow of isolated houses. Lena pressed her forehead against cold glass and watched civilization disappear. Kyle sat across from her, gun resting on his thigh, phone pressed to his ear. He'd been making calls for 20 minutes. Same conversation repeated in 3 languages. Korean, English, something that sounded like Mandarin. His voice stayed flat, clinical, like he was discussing stock portfolios instead of coordinating a war. "How much further?" she shouted over the rotors. 30 minutes. "Where are we going?" "Wisconsin, near the Michigan border. Property's been in my family for 15 years. No records tying it to me, no utilities under my name. Nothing that shows up in databases." "Your family?" It was the first personal detail he'd volunteered. "I didn't know you had family." "I don't. Not anymore." He ended his call, stared out into darkness. "My father bought the land before he died. Never got around to building on it. I finished what he started 5 years ago." "Why keep it secret?" "Because everyone needs a place the world can't find." He looked at her. "Even me." The helicopter descended through low clouds into a clearing surrounded by dense pine forest. A structure emerged from shadows. Not a cabin, exactly. More like a fortress disguised as one. Stone and steel and reinforced glass. Solar panels on the roof. Generator visible through trees. High walls camouflaged with natural wood. They landed on a concrete pad hidden beneath overhanging branches. The pilot killed the rotors. Silence crashed down like a physical weight. "This is it?" Lena asked. "This is it." Kale jumped out, extended a hand. "Welcome to the end of the world." She took his hand, stepped onto solid ground for the first time in an hour. Her legs shook. Adrenaline crash catching up. Kyle steadied her with one hand on her elbow while grabbing both duffel bags with the other. "James will stay with the helicopter," he said to the pilot. "Radio silence unless it's an emergency." James nodded. "Understood, boss." Kale led her across the clearing to the structure. Biometric scanner beside a steel door. He pressed his palm against it. The door clicked open with hydraulic precision. Interior lights flickered on automatically. The inside looked nothing like the outside suggested. Where she'd expected rustic cabin aesthetic, she found something closer to a bunker. Concrete floors. Minimalist furniture. A kitchen that looked military-grade efficient. Monitors lining one wall showing security camera feeds of the surrounding forest. Gun safe in the corner. Medical supplies stacked in clear containers. This wasn't a vacation home. This was a war room. "How long have you been preparing for this?" Lena whispered. "Since the day I realized the life I chose came with permanent enemies." Kyle dropped the bags, started checking monitors. "There's a bedroom down that hall. Bathroom has a shower. Clothes in the closet should fit." "You keep women's clothes in your secret bunker?" "I keep clothes for anyone who might need them. Preparation isn't paranoia if the threat is real." He pulled up camera feeds showing the forest and thermal imaging. "We're alone for now, but that won't last." "You think they'll find us here?" "I think they'll try, which means we have maybe 12 hours before we need to move again." Lena felt exhaustion crushing down. "I can't keep running." "You won't have to, not after tonight." "What happens tonight?" "I make some calls." cash and some favors. Remind certain people what happens when they cross lines that shouldn't be crossed. His jaw tightened. Your husband's brother made a mistake going after my people. Now he's going to learn why that mistake was fatal. You're going to kill him. I'm going to remove him as a threat. How that happens depends on how smart he is. And Travis? Travis is irrelevant. He's a coward who ran. His brother is the real problem, the one with connections, the one who hired those men. Cale pulled up something on his phone, showed her a photo. Recognize him? The man in the photo looked like Travis, but harder, older. Military tattoos covering both arms, dead eyes that suggested he'd seen violence and decided he liked it. That's Derek, Lena said quietly. Travis's older brother. They were close growing up. Derek went into private security after the Marines. Travis always said Derek could fix any problem. Well, Derek just became my problem, which means he's about to have a very bad week. Cale's phone buzzed. He answered. Talk to me. A pause. His expression went rigid. Say that again. Another pause. How long ago? Silence. Then, find him. Use every resource we have. And Marcus, when you find him, bring him to me alive. I want answers before he stops breathing. He ended the call. The air in the room changed. What happened? Lena asked. Cale's voice came out cold, dangerous. One of my security team is missing. The one who had access to the penthouse elevator codes. You think he sold us out? I think someone got to him, either with money or threats or both. Either way, he gave them everything they needed to breach the building. His hands clenched into fists, which means this was coordinated, planned. Someone's been watching us for days. Derek, or whoever Derek's working for. Cale pulled up more camera feeds. Private security firms don't move like this. Too organized, too funded. This feels like something bigger. Like what? Like people who don't appreciate me operating in their territory. He looked at her. I've made enemies, Lena. Powerful ones. Men who control entire sections of this city. If they decided you're leverage they can use against me, I'm not leverage. I'm a person. To them, you're the same thing. He started pacing. I should have seen this coming. Should have moved you sooner. Should have... Stop! She grabbed his arm. You've done everything you could. You saved my life twice. You gave me safety I never had. So stop acting like this is your fault. It is my fault. I brought you into my world without explaining the cost, without warning you that proximity to me makes you a target. Then explain it now. Tell me who you really are, what you really do. All of it. Cale looked at her for a long moment. You don't want those answers? Yes, I do. Why? Because I'm tired of being protected by someone I don't understand. Because if I'm going to trust you with my life, I need to know what that life is worth to you. Because, her voice cracked, because I need to know if you're saving me or using me. The question hung between them like a blade. Cale's expression didn't change, but something moved behind his eyes. Pain, maybe, or recognition. Sit down, he said quietly. She sat on the couch. He remained standing, hands behind his back, military posture, like he was preparing for battle. My name is Kyle Jin. I own Jin Security Consulting. On paper, we provide high-end security for corporate clients and wealthy individuals. In reality, we solve problems law enforcement can't or won't touch. Missing persons who don't want to be found. Witnesses who need to disappear. Evidence that needs to surface at exactly the right time. He paused. And sometimes, not often, but sometimes, we remove threats that exist outside the reach of any legal system. You're an assassin. I'm a problem solver. Sometimes that involves violence. Most times it doesn't. But you've killed people. Yes. How many? Enough that I stopped counting. His voice stayed level. I was recruited out of Army intelligence 15 years ago by a man who saw potential in the way I processed threats. He trained me, funded me, built the infrastructure that became my company. When he died, I inherited everything, including the enemies. What kind of enemies? The kind who control human trafficking networks, drug distribution, money laundering operations, the kind who make Travis look like a child playing dress-up. Cale's jaw tightened. I've spent 10 years dismantling their operations piece by piece, making their business expensive, dangerous, unprofitable. And they've spent 10 years trying to kill me for it. Lena felt cold spreading through her chest. So when you saved me on that train, it was genuine. I saw someone in danger and intervened, that's all. He looked at her. But bringing you to my penthouse, offering protection, that made you visible. And visibility in my world is the same as painting a target on your back. So Derek isn't working alone. No. He's working for someone who wants leverage over me, and you're that leverage. Then let me go. Drop me somewhere remote. Give me money. I'll disappear and they'll have no reason to, They'll hunt you anyway, because now they know you matter to me. And anything that matters to me is a weapon they can use. His voice went cold. There's no walking away from this, Lena. Not for you. Not for me. Not anymore. So what do? We end it. Tonight. How? By giving them what they want. She stared at him. You're going to trade me? I'm going to make them think I am. Then I'm going to kill everyone who showed up to collect. The brutality of it stole her breath. You can't. Yes, I can. Because the alternative is spending the rest of your life running, looking over your shoulder, waiting for the day they finally catch you. He moved closer. I won't let that happen. Not to you. Why? The question ripped out of her. Why do you even care? You barely know me. I'm just some woman you met on a train who... You're not just some woman, his voice cracked. Just slightly. You're someone who survived 10 years of hell and still tried to build something better. Someone who didn't let cruelty make her cruel. Someone who... He stopped, swallowed hard. You remind me of someone I couldn't save, and I'll be damned if I fail twice. Silence dropped between them. Who? Lena whispered. That's my sister, Ji-won. She was 23 when she died, married to a man who beat her daily. I was deployed overseas when it happened. By the time I got back, his voice went flat. There was nothing left to save, just a body and a police report that called it suicide, even though her husband's fingerprints were on her neck. Tears burned behind Lena's eyes. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be alive, because that's the only thing that matters to me anymore. He turned away. Get some rest. We move at dawn. Where? Chicago. We're ending this where it started. That's suicide. That's justice. Kyle? Sleep, Lena. You're going to need it. He walked to the monitors and stood there motionless, watching thermal images of forest that held nothing except shadows and cold wind. Lena retreated to his bedroom, found clothes in the closet like he'd promised, jeans, sweater, boots that fit perfectly. She changed mechanically, climbed into bed that smelled like laundry detergent and nothing else. Sleep came in fragments. She woke twice to the sound of Kyle's voice speaking Korean into his phone. Once to gunfire somewhere in the distance that made her heart explode before realizing it was just a dream. When dawn light finally bled through the window, she found Kyle in the same position. Still watching monitors, still motionless except for the coffee cup he lifted to his lips every few minutes. Did you sleep at all? She asked. No. You need to rest. I'll rest when this is over. She walked to the kitchen, poured coffee, joined him at the monitors. What's the plan? We fly back to Chicago in 2 hours. I've arranged a meeting with the people who put the contract out on you. They think I'm bringing you in exchange for safe passage out of the city. And really? Really, I'm bringing 40 pounds of C4 wired to a dead man's switch. The second they confirm who ordered the hit, I detonate. Lena's coffee cup froze halfway to her mouth. You're going to blow them up? I'm going to remove them from the equation, permanently. That's mass murder. That's war. And in war, you don't negotiate with people who want you dead. You kill them first. He finally looked at her. You don't have to come. I can leave you here with James. He'll keep you safe until... I'm coming. This isn't your fight. Yes, it is. They came after me. They used me to get to you. I don't get to pretend I'm not part of this anymore. Kyle studied her. You might see things you can't unsee. I've already seen things I can't unsee. At least this time I'll be standing next to someone who can fight back. Something shifted in his expression. Not quite approval, but close. Get ready. We leave in 90 minutes. She showered, changed into clothes that felt like armor. Boots, dark jeans, a jacket with pockets deep enough to hide anything. When she emerged, Kael was strapping on tactical gear, vest, weapons harness. Enough ammunition to start a small war. "You expecting a fight?" she asked. "I'm expecting betrayal, which is worse than a fight. At least in a fight you know where everyone stands." They walked to the helicopter in silence. James had the rotors already spinning. Kael helped her climb in, then followed. The forest dropped away beneath them. Lena watched the bunker disappear into trees and wondered if she'd ever see it again. The flight back to Chicago took 40 minutes. They landed on a private helipad near the docks. Industrial area. Empty warehouses. The kind of place where screams wouldn't carry and bodies could disappear into Lake Michigan without questions. A black SUV waited. Marcus stood beside it, arm in a sling, face bruised but eyes clear. "Status?" Kael asked, jumping out. "Jumping. They're waiting at the old textile factory, 6 blocks west. Confirmed 8 hostiles minimum. Derek Mercer is there. So is his employer." "Who's the employer?" "Viktor Sokolov." Kael went rigid. "Sokolov? The Sokolov?" "Yes, sir." "That's impossible. Sokolov's been off-grid for 3 years. Intelligence said he was dead." "Intelligence was wrong." Marcus handed him a tablet showing surveillance photos. "He surfaced 2 weeks ago. Started consolidating power. Your operations in the South Side cut into his distribution network. He's been looking for leverage." Kael stared at the photos, at a man in his 50s with dead eyes and a scar running from temple to jaw. "This changes everything." "Why?" Lena asked. "Who's Viktor Sokolov?" "He's the man who controls most of the organized crime in the Midwest. Human trafficking, weapons smuggling, contract killings. If he's behind this," Kael's jaw clenched, "then this isn't about you at all. It's about removing me before I dismantle his entire operation. So I'm bait. You're the excuse. I'm the target." He looked at Marcus. "Tell me you have a plan." "I have half a plan. The other half depends on how stupid they think you are." "Walk me through it." Marcus pulled up building schematics on the tablet. "Factory has 3 entrances. Main loading bay, side door, roof access. They'll expect you to come through the bay with Lena as promised. We position snipers on rooftops. The second Sokolov confirms he's behind the contract, we light them up. 30 seconds. Clean sweep. Collateral damage? Acceptable. The building's empty except for them." Kael studied the schematic. "It's too clean. Sokolov didn't survive 20 years in this business by being predictable. There's something we're missing. Then we adapt. Or we walk into an ambush." Kael's phone buzzed. He answered, listened. His expression went from stone to ice. "When?" A pause. "Send me the coordinates." He ended the call. "What happened?" Lena asked. "Lena, they found my missing security officer, Daniels. He's dead, throat cut, dumped in an alley 3 blocks from the factory." "So they cleaned up loose ends," Marcus said. "Or they're sending a message." Kael pulled up a map. "The alley where they left him. It's directly in line of sight from the factory roof, which means—" "They wanted us to find him," Marcus finished. "They're watching us right now." "Which means they know we're here, know we're planning something, know." Kael's eyes went wide. "Get down!" He tackled Lena to the ground as the SUV exploded. Heat washed over them, metal screaming, shrapnel pinging off concrete. Marcus dove behind a shipping container. The helicopter pilot wasn't fast enough. The blast caught him mid-run and threw him 20 feet into a concrete wall. He didn't move after landing. Kael covered Lena's body with his own while debris rained down. 30 seconds of chaos. Then silence, except for flames crackling and car alarms shrieking. "You okay?" he gasped. She nodded, couldn't find words. "Marcus?" Still breathing. Marcus emerged from behind the container, bleeding from a dozen small cuts. But that was remote detonation, which means gunfire erupted from rooftops. Kael grabbed Lena and dragged her behind a concrete barrier as bullets chewed into the ground where they'd been standing. Marcus returned fire with a pistol that sounded like thunder in the enclosed space. "How many?" Kael shouted. "At least 4, maybe more." "Suppressing fire. I'm getting her inside." "Inside where?" "Anywhere but here." Kael pulled Lena up and ran toward the nearest warehouse. Bullets tracked their movement. Something hot burned across her shoulder. She screamed. Kael kept moving, practically carrying her now. They crashed through a rusty door into darkness that smelled like oil and decay. He slammed the door, shoved a metal beam across it, pulled her deeper into shadow. "Let me see," he said, already examining her shoulder. Blood soaked through her jacket. He ripped the fabric. "Just a graze. You'll live." "Doesn't feel like a graze." "That's adrenaline lying to you. Trust me, if it was bad, you wouldn't be standing." More gunfire outside. Marcus shouting something unintelligible. Then silence. Cale's phone buzzed. Text message. He showed it to Lena. "You can't run forever, Jin. Give us the girl and walk away. Final offer." "Don't you dare," Lena whispered. "I'm not negotiating with—" The warehouse door exploded inward. 4 men in tactical gear poured through. Cale fired twice, dropped one. The others scattered into cover. Bullets punched through corrugated metal walls around them. Cale grabbed Lena and ran deeper into the warehouse, through machinery, over conveyor belts, downstairs into a basement that looked like it hadn't seen light in decades. "There," he whispered, pointing to a maintenance tunnel. "Go." "What about you?" "I'm buying time. Now move." She crawled into the tunnel. Cale followed, sealing the entrance behind them with a steel grate. They moved through darkness lit only by his phone flashlight. Water dripped from above. Rats scattered. The tunnel smelled like sewage and death. After 50 yards, the tunnel opened into a larger space. Storm drain, water rushing past in the center, metal walkways on both sides. Kyle pulled out his phone. No signal. "Where does this lead?" Lena asked. "If I remember correctly, it connects to the old subway tunnels. From there, we can—" A spotlight blazed from behind them. They spun. Derek Mercer stood at the tunnel entrance, flanked by 3 men, all armed, all smiling. "Kyle Jin," Derek said. "The man who can't be killed. Except you look pretty killable from where I'm standing." Kale's gun came up. "Let her go. This is between you and me." "No. This is between you and Victor. And what Victor wants, Victor gets." Derek stepped closer. "Did you really think you could dismantle his empire without consequences? You've cost him millions. Dozens of operations shut down. Associates arrested or killed. And all because you think you're some kind of hero." "I'm not a hero. I'm a problem solver. And men like Victor are the problem." "Then solve this." Derek raised his gun, aimed it at Lena's head. "Drop your weapon or I put a bullet in her brain. You have 3 seconds. 1. Cale's gun clattered to the walkway. "Good boy. Now kick it into the water." He did. Derek smiled. "See? You're not so tough without your guns and your money and your people. You're just another man who made the wrong enemies. And you're just another thug who thinks working for Sokolov makes you powerful. But you're wrong. You're disposable. The second you've served your purpose, he'll throw you away like he's thrown away everyone else stupid enough to trust him." "You trying to turn me against my employer? That's pathetic." "I'm telling you the truth. Victor doesn't share power. He eliminates competition. And the second I'm dead, you become competition." Derek hesitated, just for a second. But that second was enough. Cale moved, not toward Derek, toward the water. He grabbed Lena and they jumped. Cold water swallowed them whole. Current dragged them under. She couldn't breathe, couldn't see, couldn't do anything except hold on to Kyle while the storm drain tried to kill them both. Gunfire erupted above. Bullets sliced into water. Cale kicked toward the surface. They broke through gasping 50 yards downstream. He pulled her toward a maintenance ladder. They climbed while bullets pinged off metal rungs, up, into darkness. Through another tunnel, this one older. Brick walls. The rumble of subway trains somewhere close. They collapsed on cold stone, gasping, soaked, bleeding. "You okay?" Cale managed. "Define okay." Breathing and conscious. Then, yes. He pulled out his phone. Cracked screen, but still functioning. Dialed. "Marcus, we're in the old subway tunnels under the docks. I need extraction. Fast." A pause. "I don't care if it's compromised. They're coming, and I'm out of options." He ended the call. Looked at Lena. "Can you walk?" "Do I have a choice?" "Not really." They moved through tunnels that smelled like rust and rats and 100 years of neglect. Above them, the city hummed. Trains roared past, cars honked. People lived entire lives without knowing these tunnels existed, without knowing wars were fought in darkness while they sipped coffee and complained about traffic. After 20 minutes, they emerged into an abandoned subway station. Tiles crumbling, graffiti covering every surface, a single bare bulb flickering. Marcus stood on the platform. Behind him, 3 more men in tactical gear, all armed, all watching the tunnel entrance. "Thank God," Lena breathed, but Kyle didn't move. He stood frozen, staring at Marcus, at the men behind him, at something Lena couldn't see but could feel radiating off him like heat. "Marcus," Kale said quietly, "why are they here?" "For insurance." "Insurance against what?" "Against you doing something stupid." Marcus raised his gun. "Victor sends his regards." And Lena understood. The betrayal she'd been dreading, the twist she'd felt coming. It wasn't Derek, it wasn't some faceless enemy, it was the man Kyle trusted most. "How long?" Kale's voice stayed level, but something underneath was breaking. 6 months. Since Victor approached me with an offer I couldn't refuse. Marcus smiled. It looked painful. "I'm sorry, boss, but you were always going to lose this war. I just chose to be on the winning side." Kael's hands clenched. "Everything. The security breach, the ambush at the penthouse, the missing officer. All you. All me. Victor needed leverage. I gave him access. Simple as that. And Daniels? Did you kill him yourself?" "He figured out what I was doing. Couldn't let that information reach you. So you cut his throat and left him in an alley like garbage." "I did what was necessary. Just like you taught me." The words landed like bullets. Lena felt Kale shaking beside her. Rage, grief, betrayal, all of it boiling beneath that controlled exterior, threatening to explode. "Walk away," Kyle said. "Take your men. Leave us here. I'll disappear. Victor gets what he wants." "Can't do that. Victor wants confirmation you're dead, and he wants the girl alive. Leverage for the next person stupid enough to challenge him. Over my dead body. That's the idea." Marcus aimed. "I really am sorry, boss. You were a good teacher, but you taught me too well. Taught me that survival matters more than loyalty, that power trumps principle, that in the end, everyone's for sale." His finger tightened on the trigger. "You just never realized the price for me was reasonable." The gunshot cracked through the station, but it didn't come from Marcus. It came from behind him. One of his men collapsed, then another. Then Marcus himself, dropping his gun, clutching his leg where blood poured from a shattered kneecap. Viktor Sokolov stepped out of shadow holding a smoking pistol. "Did you really think," the Russian said in accented English, "that I would trust a man who betrayed his employer to remain loyal to me? How stupid do you think I am?" He shot Marcus again, center mass. The body jerked and went still. Victor turned to Kyle and Lena. "Now, let us discuss terms." Viktor Sokolov stood in the flickering station light, like death wearing a custom suit. The gun in his hand looked almost casual, like he'd held weapons so long they'd become extensions of his body. Behind him, 4 more men materialized from shadows, all armed, all watching Kyle and Lena with the dead-eyed focus of predators who'd already decided their prey was finished. Marcus's body leaked blood onto crumbling tile. The betrayal was still warm, still bleeding, still impossible to process. Kyle's breathing stayed controlled, but Lena felt tension radiating off him like heat. His hand found hers, squeezed once, a message without words. "Stay close. Stay alive. Stay ready." "Terms," Victor repeated, stepping over Marcus's corpse without looking down. "I am reasonable man. I give you choice." "Choice implies options," Kyle said. His voice came out flat, empty. Like something vital had been carved out and nothing remained except cold precision. "What you're offering is an execution with extra steps." "Perhaps. But execution with dignity is better than execution while begging, yes?" Victor's accent turned the words into something almost musical. "You have cost me much money, Mr. Jin, much time, many good men, operations I built over decades, destroyed because you think you are hero." "I never claimed to be a hero." "No. You claim to be businessman, security consultant, but really," Victor smiled, it didn't reach his eyes. "Really, you are crusader, vigilante, man who thinks he can clean up world one body at a time, very American, very stupid. And yet here we are, your operation in shambles, your distribution network crippled, Your reputation damaged because one man with resources decided you needed stopping. Victor's smile vanished. You think you won? You think because you shut down few warehouses, arrest few drivers, save few whores from their employment, you think this is victory? He laughed, cold, bitter. I have been in this business 30 years. I have survived FBI investigations, cartel wars, Russian mafia purges. You are insect. Annoying, yes, but still insect. Then why am I still alive? Because I am curious. Curious what kind of man throws away fortune and safety to fight war he cannot win. Curious what drives you. Victor stepped closer. So I asked directly, why? Why do you care about prostitutes and drug addicts and broken women no one else wants? What are they to you? Kael's jaw tightened. They're people. That's enough. No, is not enough. People die every day. You don't cry for them. You don't wage war for them. Victor's eyes narrowed. There is something personal, something that drives you beyond reason. I want to know what. You don't get that information. Then I take it from your corpse. Victor raised his gun. Wait. Lena's voice cracked through the tension. You want to know why? I'll tell you why. Lena, don't call... Kael started. His sister, Ji-won. She was murdered by her husband, beaten to death, and the police called it suicide because her husband had connections. Money. Power. Lena felt tears burning. Kael couldn't save her, so he saves everyone else, every woman who reminds him of her, every person trapped in situations they can't escape. He's not a crusader. He's not a hero. He's just a brother who failed once and refuses to fail again. Silence dropped like a guillotine blade. Victor studied Kael with new interest. This is true? Kael said nothing. Answer me. Yes. And this woman? Victor gestured at Lena. She a surrogate? Replacement for sister you could not protect? She's someone who deserves better than dying in a subway tunnel because men like you treat human beings like property. Property, Victor tasted the word. Interesting choice, because that is exactly what she is now, my property, leverage to ensure you stop interfering in my business. I'll never stop. Then you die tonight, and she lives as a reminder of what happens when people cross me. She will work in my houses, service my clients, and every night she will remember that you chose your crusade over her survival. Victor's smile returned, cruel, predatory. Unless you make better choice. What choice? You walk away. Tonight. Forever. Leave Chicago, leave America. Never speak of me or my operations again. Do this and I let her go. Free. Unharmed. Clean slate. Kael's hand tightened around Lena's. You're lying. Perhaps. But you will never know unless you try. Victor lowered his gun. So, what is more important? Your mission or her life? Lena felt Kael's pulse hammering through his grip, felt the war raging inside him, principle versus protection, justice versus love, the same choice that destroyed him once before. Don't, she whispered. Don't do this for me. I can't lose you. You won't. We'll fight, together, whatever happens. You'll die. They'll torture you, break you, turn you into something unrecognizable. And I'll spend whatever's left of my life knowing I could have stopped it. By giving up everything you've built? Everything you believe in? Yes. Then you're not the man I thought you were. The words hit him like bullets. His hand loosened, just slightly, just enough she felt the separation beginning. Very touching, Victor said, but I grow bored. Make choice. Now. Or I make it for you. Let me think. No more thinking. Choose. Kael looked at Lena, then at Victor, then back at Marcus's body bleeding out on cracked tile, the man who'd betrayed him, the man he'd trusted, the proof that loyalty was fiction and everyone eventually chose survival over principle. Okay, Kael said quietly. Lena's heart stopped. Kael, no. I'll walk away. Give you my word I'll never interfere again. Just let her go. Victor smiled. See? Was not so difficult. But I need more than words. I need insurance. What kind of insurance? Simple. You kill Derek Mercer, the man who started this mess by putting contract on you. You kill him, I know you're serious about walking away. I know you will not seek revenge. Derek's nothing. He's a thug who thought he could play in a league above him. Exactly. So killing him should be easy, yes, unless you have problem with getting hands dirty. Victor pulled a knife from his belt, tossed it at Kael's feet. Prove you are man of action, not just words. Then we have deal. Kael stared at the knife, at the steel blade reflecting fluorescent light. Where is he? 3 tunnels north. My men have him secured, waiting for you to come finish what you started. And after I kill him? After you leave, and she goes free. You have my word. Your word means nothing. Then we have that in common. Victor gestured to his men. They will escort you. I will stay here with your woman. Make sure no one interrupts our transaction. Kael picked up the knife, tested the weight, the balance. His knuckles were white. If you hurt her, I am businessman. I honor deals, but only if terms are met. So go, kill Derek Mercer. Prove your commitment to walking away. Kael looked at Lena one last time. His eyes carried everything he couldn't say. Apologies, promises, grief for what they could have been if the world was different. Then he turned and walked into darkness, followed by Victor's men. Silence crushed down. Victor lowered himself onto a rusted bench, gun resting casually on his knee. Your man. He is interesting. Most people in his position would beg, cry, try to negotiate. But him? He calculates, processes, chooses option with highest survival probability. Victor's eyes locked onto hers. Tell me, do you love him? That's none of your business. Everything is my business. So I ask again, do you love him? Lena's jaw tightened. I don't know. You don't know. How American, how convenient. He lit a cigarette, took a long drag. In my country, love is not complicated. You love someone, you do anything for them. You lie, you steal, you kill. Because love without sacrifice is just transaction. Is that what you tell yourself? That your business is justified because people make transactions? People make choices. I simply provide options. He exhaled smoke that curled toward water-stained ceiling. Your husband, Travis, he made choice to abuse you. Derek made choice to help him. Kael made choice to interfere. Now he makes choice to walk away. All choices, all consequences. And what about the women you traffic? What choices do they have? More than you think. Many come willingly, desperate for money, for escape from worse situations. I give them opportunity. You give them slavery. I give them what they can afford. If they had better options, they would take them. But they don't. So they come to me, and I profit from their desperation. This is capitalism, yes? Supply and demand. You're a monster. I am realist. Monsters believe they are doing good. I know exactly what I am. He took another drag. Which is why I will honor deal with Kael. Not because I am good man, but because killing you serves no purpose after he walks away. Business is business, nothing personal. Everything about this is personal. To you, perhaps. To me? He shrugged. You are simply leverage that is no longer needed once terms are met. Lena's hands curled into fists. He's going to kill you. Maybe not tonight, maybe not this year, but eventually he'll come for you. And when he does, all your men and all your money won't save you. Victor smiled. Perhaps, but perhaps is not today, and today is all that matters. Footsteps echoed from the tunnel. Kael emerged from darkness. Alone. His clothes were soaked with blood that wasn't his. The knife was gone. His face looked carved from stone. It's done, he said. Show me proof. Kael pulled out his phone, showed a photo of Derek Mercer's body sprawled in a tunnel, throat cut, eyes staring at nothing. Victor studied the image, nodded. Good. You keep word. I keep mine. He gestured to his men. Let her go. No one moved. I said, let her go. About that, one of Victor's men said, stepping forward, taller than the others, military bearing, American accent. Change of plans. Victor's expression shifted. What change? We have deal. Yeah, you had a deal, past tense. The man raised his gun, not at Kael, at Victor. FBI. You're under arrest for human trafficking, racketeering, and about 40 other charges that'll keep you locked up until you're 100. The station exploded into chaos. Victor's men spun, reaching for weapons. More agents poured from every tunnel entrance wearing tactical gear with FBI emblazoned across their chests. Flashbangs detonated. Smoke filled the station. Shouting, commands, the crack of gunfire. Kyle grabbed Lena and dragged her behind a concrete pillar as bullets chewed into tile around them. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process what was happening. "Stay down!" Kyle shouted over the chaos. "What's happening?" "What's happening is I played everyone." He pulled a radio from his pocket. "Marcus wasn't the only one wearing a wire. I've been feeding information to FBI for 6 months. Tonight was the trap." "You knew? You knew Marcus betrayed you?" "Not until tonight. But I knew someone had leaked information, so I made sure every conversation was recorded, every location tracked, everything documented." His eyes burned with something feral. Victor thought he was in control, but he walked right into the net. The gunfire intensified. One of Victor's men went down, then another. The FBI agents moved with precision, closing the circle. Victor himself had taken cover behind the same pillar, 10 feet away, trapped. "You bastard!" Victor screamed at Kyle. "You set me up! I gave you options. You chose wrong. I will kill you. I will kill everyone you love." "You'll do it from federal prison." Kyle's voice went cold. "Where I'm sure you'll have plenty of time to think about supply and demand." Victor raised his gun, aimed at Lena. "Then I take something from you first." The shot came from nowhere. Victor's head snapped back. The gun clattered from his fingers. His body crumpled like a puppet with cut strings. Lena stared at the corpse, at the man who'd terrorized them, at the monster who'd built an empire on suffering, dead in an instant. An FBI agent emerged from smoke, older, gray hair, tired eyes. "Kyle Jin?" "That's me. Special Agent Morrison. We need to debrief you, both of you. There's a lot to untangle here." "Derek Mercer. You'll find his body 3 tunnels north, but he's not dead." Morrison's eyebrows rose. "You said—" "I said it was done. Didn't say I killed him. Derek's alive, unconscious, zip-tied, waiting for you to collect him." Cale pulled out the phone again. The photo was staged, fake blood, lighting angle. Victor saw what he wanted to see. "You lied to a mob boss about committing murder?" "I played him. Big difference." Morrison shook his head. "You're either the smartest man I've met or the craziest. Maybe both." He gestured to his team. "Get them out of here. Medical check. Full statements. And someone find Derek Mercer before he wakes up." Agents surrounded them, led them through tunnels that smelled like smoke and blood, upstairs, through service doors, into cold night air that hit like a slap. Ambulances, police cars, more agents than Lena could count. The entire block had been cordoned off. News helicopters circled above. The war that raged in darkness was about to become front-page news. A paramedic examined Lena's shoulder, cleaned the graze, bandaged it, while asking questions she barely heard. Her mind was still in that tunnel, still watching Victor's head snap back, still processing that the nightmare was actually over. Cale stood 20 feet away being debriefed by Morrison. His voice stayed level, clinical, reciting facts like he was discussing stock portfolios instead of describing a coordinated takedown of Chicago's most dangerous criminal. After an hour, Morrison dismissed him. Cale walked over to where Lena sat on an ambulance bumper, wrapped in a shock blanket that did nothing to stop her shaking. "You okay?" he asked. "I don't know what I am." "That's fair." He sat beside her, close enough their shoulders touched. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry." "For what?" "For dragging you into this, for making you part of a war you never asked to fight, for—" "Stop." She grabbed his hand. "You saved my life multiple times. You gave me safety when I had none. You fought for me when no one else would. So stop apologizing for being the only good thing that's happened to me in 10 years. "I'm not good, Lena. I'm just—" "You're good enough for me." The words hung between them, heavy, loaded, carrying promises neither of them knew how to keep. Morrison walked over. "We're going to need you both for extensive debriefing. Could take days, weeks maybe. You'll need somewhere to stay." "I have properties," Kyle said. "All of which are crime scenes now. We've got agents processing your penthouse, the bunker in Wisconsin, every location tied to your operations." Morrison's expression softened. You did good work tonight, Jin. Really good work. But you also operated outside legal boundaries for years. There will be consequences. I know. Federal prosecutors want to talk. So do about 6 different agencies. You're looking at immunity deals, witness protection, complete restructuring of your company. Your life as you knew it, it's over. What about her? Kale gestured at Lena. She's clean, victim in all this. We'll need her testimony against Derek Mercer, but after that she's free to go. Where? Lena asked. Travis might be in Iowa, but he'll come back. Eventually. And Derek's going to prison, but he has friends, family, people who'll want revenge. We can arrange protection, new identity, relocation. It's not perfect, but it's safe. No, Kale's voice cut through. She stays with me. Jin, you're not going to have resources to protect anyone. The FBI is seizing your assets pending investigation. Your company's being dismantled. You'll be lucky if you're not facing charges yourself. Then I'll protect her without resources. But she's not disappearing into witness protection alone. Morrison studied them both. You two are either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. We've been told that already tonight, Lena said. I bet, he sighed. Fine, we'll work something out, but right now you both need rest, medical evaluation, and about 1,000 forms signed. He gestured to a waiting card. Agent Parker will take you to a safe house. We'll continue this conversation tomorrow. They climbed into the car, drove through Chicago streets that looked surreal after everything. Normal people living normal lives, going to bars, hailing cabs, arguing about parking spaces. None of them knowing that blocks away a war had ended in blood and smoke and bodies that would take days to identify. The safe house turned out to be a bland apartment in a bland building with bland furniture and locks that suggested the FBI took security seriously. 2 agents stood outside, 2 more inside. Every window covered, every exit monitored. Kale thanked them, closed the door, locked it. Then he collapsed. Not physically, nothing visible. But Lena saw it. The moment the mask cracked, the moment 10 years of controlled violence and buried grief finally caught up. He sat on the couch and put his head in his hands, and for the first time since the subway train, he looked human. She sat beside him, didn't speak, didn't offer comfort. Just sat there in silence that said everything words couldn't. I didn't want to kill him, Kale finally said. Victor. I wanted him in prison, wanted him to face justice. But when he aimed at you, the agent killed him, not you. Same thing. I created the situation. I put you in his crosshairs. His death is on me. So is his arrest. So is the takedown of his entire organization. So are the dozens of people you saved by stopping him. She turned his face toward hers. You're not responsible for what he chose. You're only responsible for what you chose. And you chose to save lives, including mine. At what cost? Does it matter? Yes. Why? Because I need to know if you can live with what I am, what I've done, what I'll keep doing because it's the only thing I know how to do. His eyes searched hers. I'm not going to change, Lena. I'm not going to become some normal guy with a normal job and normal problems. I'm always going to be the person who sees suffering and can't walk away. The person who solves problems with violence when violence is the only language people understand. If you stay with me, that's the life you're choosing. And if I want that life, then you're as crazy as I am. Good. I've been looking for someone on my level. He almost smiled. Almost. We don't even know if we'll survive the next week. FBI could decide I'm more useful behind bars. Derek could make bail. Travis could come back. Victor's people could want revenge. There are 1,000 ways this ends badly. Then let's make sure it doesn't. How? By doing what we do best. You fight, I survive. Together we figure out what comes next. Kale looked at her for a long moment. Then he kissed her. Not gentle, not careful, but desperate, urgent. Like a man drowning, and she was air. Like 10 years of isolation and grief and violence had finally found something worth protecting more than principle. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, the apartment felt different, smaller, warmer. Like maybe 2 broken people could build something whole if they tried hard enough. What happens now? Lena whispered. Now we rest. Tomorrow we face whatever comes next. And the day after that, we do it again. Until eventually what? Eventually it stops feeling like survival and starts feeling like life. She curled against him, let exhaustion drag her toward sleep. Outside, Chicago hummed. Inside, two people who'd survived hell decided to try surviving something harder. Peace. But peace would have to wait, because at 3 a.m., Lena's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Victor's dead. Derek's arrested. But you think that ends this? You think we don't have contingencies? Enjoy your victory while it lasts, because tomorrow the real war begins. She showed Kyle. He read it twice, then pulled her closer. Let them come. We'll be ready. Will we? We have to be, because the alternative is losing, and I don't lose anymore. Outside, the city slept. Inside, two warriors prepared for one more battle. The last one. The one that would determine whether they'd finally earned the right to stop fighting, or whether they'd die trying. Dawn broke over Chicago like a wound bleeding light across steel and glass. Lena stood at the safe house window, watching the city wake while exhaustion pulled at her bones. She hadn't slept after the text. Neither had Kael. They'd spent the dark hours planning, preparing, accepting that peace was always going to be something they'd have to fight for. Behind her, Kael sat at the kitchen table, cleaning a handgun with mechanical precision. The FBI had returned his weapons after Morrison confirmed he'd been working with them. Now he moved through the ritual-like meditation. Disassemble, clean, reassemble, over and over until his hands stopped shaking. They'll come today, he said without looking up. Victor's people. They'll want revenge while the wound's still fresh. How many? Enough to make it count. They won't send amateurs, not after what happened. And we're supposed to what? Sit here and wait to die? We're supposed to turn the trap around. He set the gun down, looked at her. Morrison's team is stretched thin processing Victor's network. They can spare maybe 2 agents for protection. That's not enough. So we run, we fight, but on our terms, our ground. He pulled out his phone, made a call. James, I need the helicopter, 1 hour, and I need you to file a flight plan to Michigan, then ignore it completely. A pause. Because someone's listening, and I want them to know exactly where we're not going. He ended the call, made another. Marcus's replacement, Chen. You still breathing? Relief flickered across his face. Good. I need you to spread a rumor. Make sure it reaches Victor's people. Tell them Lena and I are holed up at the bunker in Wisconsin. Make it believable. Make it sound like you're trying to keep it secret. Another pause. Because we're going to kill everyone who shows up. That's how. Lena felt ice spreading through her chest. You're using the bunker as bait. I'm using it as a kill box. The place is rigged with enough security to stop a small army. If they want us that badly, they'll have to go through hell to get there, and most of them won't make it out. That's mass murder. That's survival. They're coming regardless. At least this way we choose the battlefield. He stood, walked to her, took her hands. I know what I'm asking. I know this isn't the life you wanted. But if we don't end this today, we spend the rest of our lives looking over our shoulders. Is that what you want? I want to live without fear. Then help me make that possible. She looked into his eyes. At the man who'd saved her life and dragged her into a war and was now asking her to become something she'd never been. Not a victim, not a survivor, but a fighter. What do you need me to do? She asked. Stay alive. That's all. I'll handle the rest. No, I'm done being cargo. If we're doing this, I'm part of it. Lena, I said I'm part of it. Teach me. Show me. Whatever it takes. Kael studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. Okay. But you follow my lead. You do exactly what I say. And if I tell you to run, you run. No arguments, no heroics. Agreed? Agreed. He spent the next hour teaching her things she never thought she'd need to know. How to hold a gun. How to aim under stress. How to move through confined spaces without getting killed. How to think like someone whose life depended on split-second decisions. She was terrible at all of it, but she tried. And trying was enough. At 9 a.m., Morrison arrived with fresh coffee and worse news. Derek Mercer made bail 3 hours ago, posted by an anonymous donor. He's in the wind. Let me guess, Kyle said. Victor's organization. That's our working theory. We've got alerts out, but he knows how to disappear. Could be anywhere. He's not anywhere. He's coming for us. Cale showed Morrison the text from last night. This is a coordinated move. Victor's people sprung Derek because they need local knowledge. Someone who knows Lena, knows me, knows how we think. Morrison's face went grim. We can pull you out, relocate you tonight. New identities. Fresh start. Running doesn't solve this. It just delays it. Then what do you suggest? I suggest you let me handle it my way. Your way gets people killed. Their way gets more people killed. At least my way, the right people end up dead. Morrison rubbed his face. I didn't hear that. And you didn't say it. Officially, I'm advising you to accept protective custody. Unofficially, he lowered his voice. You've got 12 hours before I have to file a report on your whereabouts. Use them wisely. He left. Cale turned to Lena. Last chance to walk away. I walked away once. Look where it got me. Fair point. He grabbed both their bags. Let's go end this. They left through a service exit, climbed into a car Chen had left in the alley, drove through Chicago streets that felt different now, smaller, more fragile, like she could see through the facade to the violence that lurked underneath every smile and handshake. The helicopter waited at a private airfield north of the city. James had the rotors already spinning. They climbed in without words, lifted off into gray sky that promised rain. Below them, Chicago shrank to toy size. All those people, all those lives, none of them knowing that somewhere above them, two people were flying toward a fight that would determine whether they'd see another sunrise. The flight to Wisconsin took 90 minutes. They didn't talk, didn't plan. There was nothing left to plan. Either they'd survive or they wouldn't. Talking wouldn't change the outcome. The bunker emerged from forest like a scar in the earth. James set them down on the concrete pad, kept the rotors spinning. I'll stay airborne, he shouted. Circle the perimeter. Anything moves, you'll know. Get out of here if it goes bad, Kyle said. Don't be a hero. Says the man flying into an ambush. That's different. I'm already dead, just haven't stopped moving yet. James's expression went serious. Boss, it's been an honor. It's not over yet. Still, had to be said. The helicopter lifted off, disappeared into low clouds. Silence crashed down, broken only by wind through pine trees and the distant rumble of thunder. Cale led Lena to the bunker. Biometric scanner, steel door, interior lights revealing the same war room she'd seen days ago. But now the monitors showed something different. Thermal imaging revealed heat signatures moving through the forest. 6. No, 8. Approaching from multiple angles. They're already here, Lena whispered. Good. Means they took the bait. Cale pulled up the security grid. I've got motion sensors covering every approach, automated defenses on the perimeter, and enough ammunition to hold off a small army. They want in, they'll have to earn it. He handed her a handgun. Stay in the interior room, lock the door. If anyone gets past me, you shoot them. Center mass. Keep shooting until they stop moving. Understand? What about you? I'll be fine. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. He kissed her. Hard, desperate. If this goes wrong, it won't. But if it does, I need you to know... He stopped, swallowed hard. You're the first thing I've cared about in 10 years. The first thing that made me remember why I started this crusade. So if I don't make it out, don't let that die with me. Keep fighting, keep surviving, keep being the person who wouldn't let a monster win. Kyle, go, now. She retreated to the interior room, locked the door, pressed her back against concrete and listened to her pulse hammer in her ears. Outside, thunder rolled closer, or maybe it was gunfire. The first explosion shook the bunker like an earthquake. Dust rained from ceiling. Monitors flickered. Alarms screamed. Lena gripped the gun with both hands and tried to remember everything Cale had taught her. Breathe, aim, squeeze, don't pull. More explosions. Closer now. The automated defenses kicking in. Cale's voice came through speakers built into the walls. They're using shaped charges on the outer perimeter. Military grade. They're not playing around. How many? Down to 6, 2 caught in the minefield, but the rest are getting closer. Where are you? Main room. I've got sight lines on all three entrances. They're going to have to... Gunfire drowned out his words. Automatic weapons. The sound of it rattled her teeth. She counted shots, lost track, started over, gave up. Silence dropped like a hammer. Kyle? She called. Nothing. Kale? A grunt. Breathing. Still here. They breached the east entrance, got one, maybe two. The rest pulled back, regrouping. How long do we have? Minutes. They'll try to flank, come in from multiple sides at once, standard breach tactics. Can you hold them? Can I hold four armed professionals while protecting you and not dying? A bitter laugh. We're about to find out. More gunfire, this time from two different directions. Kyle shouting something she couldn't make out. The crack of his rifle. Silence. Then voices. Male, harsh, speaking Russian. They were inside. Lena's breath came in short gasps. Her hands shook so badly she almost dropped the gun. She pressed herself into the corner, watched the door, prayed to nothing in particular that it would hold. Something slammed against it. Once, twice. The lock groaned but held. "Break it down!" someone shouted. Derek's voice. He was here. He'd come for her himself. More impacts. The door buckled, started to give. Lena raised the gun, aimed at chest height, tried to steady her breathing. The door exploded inward. Derek filled the opening, blood on his face, rage in his eyes, gun in his hand. "There you are," he snarled. She fired. The recoil nearly broke her wrist. The shot went wide, punched a hole in the wall behind him. Derek laughed. "You can't even shoot straight. Travis was right. You're pathetic." He aimed at her. The gunshot came from behind him. Derek's chest bloomed red. He staggered, looked down at the wound, then at Kyle standing in the hallway holding a smoking pistol. "She doesn't need to shoot straight," Kale said. "She just needs to keep you talking." Derek collapsed. Kale stepped over the body, checked the room, checked Lena. "You okay?" She nodded, couldn't find words. "Good. Stay here. There's two more somewhere. I need to... Gunfire erupted from the main room. Kyle spun, ran toward it. Lena followed before she could think better of it. The main room looked like a war zone. Bodies sprawled across floor, blood pooling, bullet holes in every surface. Two men in tactical gear were trying to flank Kyle's position. He was pinned behind the kitchen counter, outnumbered, outgunned. Lena raised her weapon, fired at the nearest man. Missed. Fired again. Hit something. The man screamed, went down. The other one turned toward her, raised his gun. Kyle put 3 rounds in his chest before he could pull the trigger. Silence. Just breathing. Heavy, ragged, the kind that came after survival. Kyle lowered his gun, looked at Lena. "I told you to stay in the room. I don't follow orders well." "I noticed." He crossed to her, took the gun from her shaking hands. "Thank you for the save." "You're welcome for not dying." They stood there among the bodies and the blood and the evidence of how close they'd come to losing everything. Outside, thunder finally broke. Rain hammered the bunker like the sky was trying to wash everything clean. Kyle's phone buzzed. He answered. "James, we're clear. You can land." A pause. "Because everyone who came for us is dead. That's how I know." He ended the call, looked around the bunker, at the destruction, at the price of peace. "We need to leave. FBI will have heard the explosions. They'll be here within the hour." "Where do we go?" "Somewhere they can't follow." He grabbed their bags. "I have one more property, completely off-grid, no records, no connections, nothing that ties it to me or my company or anything I've ever touched." "How is that possible?" "Because I bought it under my sister's name, before she died. It was supposed to be our escape plan, somewhere we could go if everything fell apart." His voice cracked. "She never got to use it, but maybe we can." They climbed into this helicopter. James lifted off without questions. Rain battered the windscreen. Below them, the bunker disappeared into forest. Emergency vehicles with flashing lights converged from multiple directions. But by the time they arrived, the helicopter was already gone. They flew north, into wilderness, into storms, into territory so remote the GPS stopped working and James had to navigate by instinct and old maps that probably predated satellites. After 2 hours, they landed in a clearing beside a lake that looked like glass. A cabin sat on the shore. Small, rustic, nothing like Kyle other properties. This was simple, real, human. "This is it," Kyle said. They walked to the cabin. Inside was basic. Wood stove, simple furniture, a bed, a kitchen table, windows overlooking water that stretched to horizons, no monitors, no weapons, no evidence that violence existed anywhere in the world. Just silence. And two people who'd survived hell trying to remember what peace felt like. Lena set her bag down, walked to the window, watched rain patterns on the lake. Behind her, Kale started a fire in the stove. The crackling filled the space with something almost like comfort. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we rest, heal, figure out who we are when we're not fighting for our lives. And after that? After that?" He joined her at the window. "After that, we decide if this is enough. If quiet and safety and each other is enough to build a life on." "Is it enough for you?" "I don't know. I've never had it before." He looked at her. "But I'd like to find out." She leaned against him, felt his warmth, his solidity, his presence that had become the only constant in her catastrophic world. "I would too." They stood there watching the storm rage across water that was probably cold enough to kill and thinking about how close they'd come to never having this moment. Later, they ate simple food, bread, cheese, wine that tasted like someone had cared about making it. They didn't talk about Derek or Victor or the bodies they'd left behind. Didn't talk about the FBI or what came next or how they'd explain any of this to people who lived normal lives. They just existed together in silence that said everything. Night fell. The rain stopped. Stars emerged in skies so clear and dark they looked like wounds in the fabric of reality. Lena stood on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, watching constellations she'd forgotten existed. Kyle found her there, brought her tea that steamed in cold air. "You thinking about going back? Back to what? My old life? That died the moment Travis grabbed me on the train. I can't go back to being that person. She doesn't exist anymore." "Then who are you now?" "I don't know yet, but I know I'm not a victim, not anymore." "No, you're a survivor. There's a difference." "What's the difference?" "Victims wait for rescue. Survivors build their own salvation." He sipped his tea. "You didn't wait for someone to save you. You saved yourself. I just provided the tools. You provided a lot more than tools." "Did I?" "You provided hope. In a penthouse surrounded by expensive things, you gave me the one thing money can't buy. You gave me belief that I deserved better, that I could be better, that the woman Travis tried to break wasn't the woman I had to be forever." Kale's eyes reflected starlight. "That woman was always there. I just reminded you she existed. Then thank you for the reminder, for everything." They finished their tea, went inside, climbed into bed that smelled like cedar and clean linen. Outside, the lake lapped against shore with rhythm older than memory. Inside, two people who'd been strangers 3 weeks ago held each other like they'd been doing it forever. "Can I ask you something?" Lena whispered in darkness. "Anything. When you saw me on that train, when Travis was dragging me toward the doors, what made you intervene? Was it really just seeing someone in danger, or was it something else?" Silence stretched. She thought he might not answer. Then his voice came quiet and raw in the dark. "It was you, the way you looked at him. Not with fear, with disgust. Like even after 10 years of abuse, he hadn't broken something fundamental inside you. Like you still knew you deserved better even if you didn't believe you'd get it." He paused. "That's how my sister looked at her husband the last time I saw her alive. And I did nothing. I walked away, told myself it wasn't my business, that she'd figure it out, that people had to want to be saved." "Kyle, so when I saw you looking at Travis the same way, I couldn't walk away. Not again. Not when I had the power to change the ending." His arms tightened around her. "I didn't save you for you, Lena. I saved you for me. Because saving you meant maybe I wasn't the person who let his sister die. Maybe I was the person who learned from failure and became something better." Tears burned behind her eyes. You're not responsible for what happened to her. Logically, I know that. But logic doesn't heal grief. Action does. And every person I save, every woman I pull out of hell, every life I change. His voice broke. It's all penance for the one I couldn't save. She turned in his arms, found his face in darkness, kissed him with everything she couldn't say. Not gratitude, not obligation, just recognition that two broken people had found each other and decided being broken together was better than being broken alone. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, she rested her forehead against his. Your sister would be proud of you, of what you became, of what you've built. Or she'd tell me I'm an idiot risking my life for strangers when I could be living in peace. She'd probably say both things, because that's what family does. Love you and call you an idiot in the same breath. You sound like you're speaking from experience. I have a sister in Portland. Haven't talked to her in 5 years because Travis forbade contact. I should call her, tell her I'm alive, tell her, Lena's voice caught, tell her she was right about everything. You will. When you're ready, when you figured out who you are now that you're not running. They fell asleep like that, tangled together. Two people who'd been at war learning how to exist at peace. Dawn came soft, pink light bleeding across water that looked like liquid silver. Lena woke first, slipped out of bed without waking Kyle, walked to the porch in bare feet and old sweater. The world felt different, quieter, lighter, like pressure she'd carried for years had finally released. She pulled out her phone. No service. But the contact list still worked. She found her sister's number, stared at it, rehearsed 1,000 opening lines, settled on the simplest. When service finally appeared, one flickering bar, she hit send. It rang 4 times. Hello? Her sister's voice. Cautious, unfamiliar number. Sarah, it's me. It's Lena. Silence. Then crying. Oh my God, where have you been? I've been trying to reach you for weeks. The news said Travis was arrested, that you disappeared, that I'm okay. I'm safe, and I'm free. Where are you? Somewhere he'll never find me. Somewhere I can finally breathe. Are you coming home? Lena looked at the cabin, at the lake, at Kale visible through the window making coffee with the same careful precision he brought to everything. I am home. It just looks different than I expected. They talked for an hour, catching up, filling holes, promising visits and explanations and all the things sisters should have been doing for 5 years but couldn't, because fear had built walls between them. When Lena finally ended the call, her face was wet with tears and something that felt dangerously like joy. Kale emerged with 2 cups of coffee, handed her one. How'd it go? Better than I deserved. She's coming to visit next month. Says she needs to meet the man who saved her sister's life. I didn't save your life. I just made sure you could save your own. Same thing. Is it though? Yeah, it really is. She sipped coffee and watched morning light turn the lake gold. What about you? Do you have anyone you need to call? Anyone waiting to hear you're okay? I have a few people. Operatives who worked for me. Contacts who helped over the years. But family? He shook his head. You're looking at it. 1 cabin, 1 lake, 1 woman who tolerated me at my worst and somehow still wanted to stay. I'm not tolerating you. I'm choosing you. There's a difference. What's the difference? Tolerance is what you do when you have no other options. Choice is what you do when you see all the options and still pick the same one. She set her coffee down, took his hands. I'm choosing you, Kyle Jin. Damaged history, violent present, uncertain future, all of it. Because the alternative is going back to a world where men like Travis exist, and no one has the courage to stop them. I'm not your knight in shining armor. I don't want a knight. I want a partner. Someone who sees darkness and doesn't flinch. Someone who knows survival isn't pretty but fights for it anyway. Someone who... Her voice caught. Someone who makes me believe I deserve to be alive. Kale pulled her into his arms, held her like she was the only solid thing in a world built on quicksand. You deserve more than alive. You deserve happy. You deserve the life Travis stole. You deserve mornings that don't start with fear and nights that end in peace. And if I can give you that, even in this tiny cabin in the middle of nowhere, then maybe everything I've done, every person I've hurt, every line I've crossed, maybe it all meant something. They stood there on the porch while the sun climbed higher and the world woke around them. Somewhere, Chicago was dealing with aftermath. FBI agents were processing scenes, prosecutors were building cases, Derek's family was planning funerals. But here, on this lake, in this moment, none of that existed. Just two people who'd survived the unsurvivable, who'd faced down monsters and discovered they were stronger than the fear that tried to consume them. Who'd learned that sometimes love wasn't flowers and poetry. Sometimes it was just two damaged people deciding the damage was bearable if they carried it together. "So what do we do now?" Lena asked. "Now?" Kale smiled. Not the controlled smile of Kyle Jin, security consultant and professional problem solver, but the real smile of a man who'd finally found something worth protecting more than his crusade. "Now we build, we heal, we figure out what normal people do when they're not fighting wars. And if normal doesn't work, then we'll figure out what abnormal looks like, but we'll do it together. Promise?" "I don't make promises I can't keep." "Is that a yes?" "Yes." She kissed him, soft, slow. The kind of kiss that said they had time now. Time to be gentle, time to be human, time to discover who they were when survival wasn't the only goal. When they broke apart, the sun was fully up. The lake sparkled. Birds sang. The world kept turning like it always did, indifferent to the wars fought in its shadows. But for Lena Vale and Kale Jin, the war was over. Not won. Not exactly. Wars like theirs didn't have winners, just survivors who'd earned the right to stop fighting. And in that cabin by the lake, surrounded by wilderness and silence and each other, they finally claimed their prize. Not victory, not justice, not even happiness, just peace. The hard-earned, blood-bought, utterly imperfect peace that came after surviving hell and deciding to keep living anyway. And in a world full of monsters, that peace was worth more than anything money could buy, because they'd built it themselves, with violence and sacrifice and the stubborn refusal to let cruelty have the final word. And that made it theirs, forever.